All right, class. Project 2 final review. Let's do it. Yeah. Okay, cool. What's something on this that I could offer advice to? I'm still here, I'm just reading. I do enjoy how this is one thought per page. Just wondering how you're using these. I do like how I'm seeing it as a repetitive graphical element. Just want to make sure it's not like obstructing anything. Here it feels weird. It's okay. Maybe if it was duller, it might fall, but it takes that page and scrunches it down a little bit. It doesn't bother me. Other times I think it works well. There it's debatable, but if you like it, leave it. If you don't, it's not really obstructing my attention. A nice pop. How about that? Cool. I think this is smart. Alright. Can't read that unless I squint really hard, and I don't want to squint really hard. So either, get rid of it or make it legible. Props in the custom printer. Looks good, gives you credibility. Someone might ask you one day, alright, well, if it was a fax had electric cords, what type of cord does this have? Just a question you might want to be ready for. Just care about they find it. Their mom might prints it, so do you hear it printing? Here we go. Right, so there's a letter in my inbox, maybe that pops up. I know that's inverse in the way we typically do things, but just curious about that process. Yep. One thing that's a bit difficult, and this is beyond the project, but is having someone actually have the discipline to sit down and write these things. Because I can send it text easier, right? I need to have parchment and something to write with. Although, you can get creative, like just a message in the sand. Could be pretty thoughtful and cute. But would I want that as a digital, or would I want that as a physical? I don't know, just thinking about it. But lots of pros. And I also enjoy this page because you would think, okay, well, it's a color scheme, but you explain why it is the way it is. I think it's pretty good. I haven't given you lots of critical feedback. So, if you want to send this to one of our former interview people, like Des, for instance, somebody said, hey, send me something, then by all means, I think this is a good opportunity for it. Cool. Very little to do on that one. As a whole, I looked at these before class, and I thought we were on a pretty good trajectory. Yes, there's things in here that I thought that were doing well, so let's talk about them. Yep. Subtle, but I can tell you're adding, the weeks to it. I think that's good in terms of explaining like your time management as a designer. Communicates well. Everybody take note. This actually might be a good thing to do. Talk about your process. How do you spend time on things you're good at? Take less time. Things that you're not as good at, take more time. I think it's a good honesty approach. It was peak season. Good. Learn if we could just one or two words out of here. Learn the requirement and complaint from the potential customers about their outdoor furniture. look for opportunities. Let's see. Learn requirements and no. Understand requirements and read reviews on outdoor furniture, or is it their outdoor furniture? Who is there? Are we talking about? I don't know who the there is. If you're getting into like the liking market, existing problem. Okay, makes sense. Try to take one word, or you can use the and symbol. That could help to make it just a little bit smaller because you're kind of crunched in these corners. How about understand desire and needs of potential customers? And I think we're already, because if you say peak season is an outdoor furnishings, or peak season isn't understood, you don't have to ask about their outdoor furniture because you've already said this is the realm that we're working in. Okay, so this is what you did, and this is what it looks like. I feel like Charles might need a new image. Everybody else is pretty good. She wins a little pixelated, but Charles is very pixelated. So throw another image in here that's not so low res. And it doesn't have to be the actual Charles because I don't even know if any of these are the real names or real pictures. It's just giving us the eye that you talk to actual people. With opportunities. I like how it's kind of a hot and cold thing. The dog nasty, just peeing and laying in the pee. So opportunities, the problems. I'm a little confused here though because we're talking about outdoor furniture. Do people want to work and use their computer outdoors? Maybe so. Maybe it's written in here and I should have read it. Workplace, drink stand, fire pit table. Is there anything else we could mention again, right? Because you talk about either when you do the heater, easy to clean, like maybe easy maintenance, easy assemble can be another good addition into this pot. The easy cleaning table and chairs. Okay, if it is easy to clean and that's the trajectory you're going, let's make sure to reinforce that later. For development, good low callouts. I'd like them to be a little bit bigger. Also, and this is just in my version maybe, you have these squares around your arrows, so make sure those squares aren't there. All right, let me see, let me zoom in. The four edges, EDGES, perhaps. Make the surface kind of hollow. I don't really know what that means. The form may seem heavy. Or like, how else can I say that? The form has a low center of gravity, perhaps. Need handle for the bench, okay. Okay, so if those are the things, how did you change them? I think it'd be useful. You have a spot telling me that there's some things that came up in the development that you changed in your final digital model. I think that would be good. Just curious. I see you break these things down to make them flat pack. Is there a price that you could throw on in terms of shipping? Because typically the smaller and less weight you ship, the more inexpensive it is. And like as shipping IKEA furniture is rather expensive. That's basically me. I'm kind of curious. The size is good. There's only one element that's different here. Are these accurate? Because I feel like this one would be much bigger than this one. Use your benefits. I might go back to that blue because you've been using blue throughout. And then you go to black. Or it might just look silly. I don't know. He might leave it out. Just give it a try. If it feels good, do it. If it doesn't. Also, kudos, because now I'm zooming on the furniture. I get the entire idea. If one of your ideas was cleaning, then let's prove that it's cleaning. I think having food on a table communicates that it can be used for that type of environment. But there is some Photoshop issue you have here. We're looking at his foot. His foot is underneath the, we'll call it a coffee table. But the back leg of the coffee table is underneath the couch. So it would be squinching his leg. So a little Photoshop work in here I think would be helpful. Okay. Just a thought, just to cut down a little bit of word. Instead of saying during the study abroad 2017 summer, you could just say you worked with Shute, a university in Taiwan, period. Our charge was to design, and then in your resume you can say study abroad, Shute University, and then you can tell me when. So maybe you don't have to cover that much information twice because maybe it's not necessary. Multi-generational, good, you got a little hyphen there. Problems, all right, let's read quick, see if I can pick it up. Mutual benefits, age groups, and since I see age groups, all age groups. We can acquire almost everything with technology. I don't know. There's things that we can't acquire, like belonging. I would say nowadays technology is the hub of our entertainment, and that's the reason why we do it, because we want to be entertained. And then technology is a barrier between families. This is a weird sentence if you read it by itself, right? So for older adults, can greater family community social support is beneficial and behave in enhancing social esteem, well-being, and reduce symptoms of depression. So if you read it by itself, it doesn't make much sense. You could just say, children benefit from active elder family members through reinforcing a family structure, breaking down stereotypes. For older, I don't want to start with older because it doesn't sound right. Older adults can also benefit by feeling a place of belonging, greater family bonds, and more social support. There's a little bit rewording in the text. Research. I would highlight most of the parents sit on the side on the phone. I think everyone's going to respond and agree with that. So you do a storyboard. I like how it is. I can understand as a family. It's a little weird for Will to bring some fried chicken with him because they came as a family and he just went off to KFC to get some. I would say Will is still working on his snack. Something to that effect. It doesn't got to be fried chicken, even though it is delicious. All right, just a small visual thing. I want you to draw maybe a line or a light line between these two. It still shows that it's two quadrants, But instead of saying education and physical belongs to all these, if you draw a line, education is at the top, physical is on bottom, but it's still wrapped up in one system. Also, you've got to get rid of these hyphenations, right? So there should be disabilities instead of disabilities on the other side. And there is some space to do that. Another thing that could ease the ability to read is get a little spacing between one sentence and the next sentence, because this looks like one giant clump of text. So give me a little space to help in reading if it is essential that I read. This one looks weird. Let me look into it. What I might do is, because these got so small, I would keep these 5 and scale them up. That way, 1, 2, 3, 4. I would keep the 4 and scale it up. Mutual benefits, hit enter between benefits and education. Bond. Let's do more than just teach. Teach and life skills. All right, so I think you made a pretty good argument for why. I feel like we just got to reduce some of the text. I just see so much text here, and I feel like I have to read it in order to understand. Is there another way you can integrate this information into the images themselves? Ideation, and the thing is, you've been so colorful up to this point. When you get to ideation, it's a little bit bland. That could be a good opportunity just to throw that in Photoshop. Add just a little bit of color, so like an airbrush of one color over a section, and erase everything you don't need. That way it has a little bit of a pop, but it's still kind of in this initial phase. I mean, when you're talking about kids' toys, in terms of a project, it's hard to go black and white and it still feel correct. Concept improvement. If there's anything you can highlight, because you're 6, 7 lines down, and I'm not going to read that individually. So guide me to where you want me to read. We made the handle more aesthetically pleasing. Good. Strengthen the gap between the petals because they were dangerous. Good. I'm just sitting there thinking, how do you play on this? And it's a bit of an assumption. Maybe there's something going on with these, but if you kick back and forth, so left, right, left, right, the ball races up and down. The downside is I'm assuming that because I don't really know. So maybe a sequence of use can help me know how it works and how it's fun. Because until then, I'm assuming that you play on it and it's fun. But if you show me, then I know. Should be a comma. Got it. Store waste, yes. The little problem is typically they recycle this, right? At least that's my understanding of cardboard. It's pretty recyclable. That's why they crush it and recycle it. But you say they trash it. So, let's see. Are producing piles of reusable materials that instead of being reused are being discarded. Or aren't they brought to a place, broken down, and made into post-consumer content? Maybe they're already post-consumer content. So instead of you getting eaten alive by somebody who really knows this information, just make sure you're speaking very tactfully. And it's not so much, it's not the waste. This isn't garbage. It's cardboard. Also, like reduce, reuse, recycle is mentioned in that way for a reason. Like we reduce the amount that we use. We reuse what we can, and then at the very end is recycle if you can't do the first two. So maybe that's an angle to run on this. Man, this page, you've gone crazy about underlining stuff. Stop. I don't even think it's necessary. None of these things need to be underlined. And then in terms of spacing, notable areas of improvement feels the most forced. How to address this issue of limiting waste in original space, it is important to observe current solutions that are available and identify weaknesses. Okay? Thing is, I had to read that. Can we say that in like 2 or 3 words? Like notable areas of improvement. I'd kick that out. Current market standards. I think that could work. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of the underlying current market standards. I'm looking through these things. They're not developed to last over long periods of time. Is it possible to quantify that? These displays are made to look good for 1 month, last for 2 months, but no longer. Better utilization. These display waste materials. Do they? How? To stock itself, allowing the stores low maintenance. I think that's good. You also say like these are, instead of current market standards, opportunities for improvement, lack of quality construction, wasted materials, high maintenance, and then things that you just drew shapes. I like how you talked about the auto restacking, the low maintenance approach to it. However, you just drew a bunch of shapes. So this is where callouts become pretty important. You tell me about it, but which ones auto stock themselves, use less material, and still have a good store presence? Okay, so instead of telling me, which I look at these things, they're scale models. I really don't know what scale, and really it doesn't really matter what scale you do them at this moment. You were explore form and sliding mechanisms. How about them sliding mechanisms? Are you talking about it here? Would it be helpful to have a little arrow to communicate that when you take one out, the rest of them stack over there, so there's no maintenance and no restocking? And also we get a little bit quick to the final. I feel like there should be another stage of, yeah, you did cardboard, you refined it, you added a couple of graphics, you tested your spring closure. Once again, without some of the description, I'm a bit lost. So sequence of use, actually I might throw sequence of use before your final. To reaffirm. Actually, shouldn't all products be reaffirmed? Should I really understand how they go into these systems? You got to Photoshop points pay off. One, it's distracting, right? If this is like a gray background or another color palette that works with Benadryl, maybe sample some of that blue. That way it looks like the entire thing is Benadryl. And you showed me the same thing a couple of times. Every time you show it to me, it needs to be there for a reason. So I would take this one over this one. Intriguing, right? I mean, just added that thing on the bottom so it connects to, I'm assuming it connects to like a bucket from the Home Depot. Interesting. Take your background graphic and knock it back just a little bit more too. I can read, it's just being distracting, and I'm highly distracted. Who is TTI? Who has Arobi? OnePlus battery system line. Cool. Now what? I would say, in a few less words than this, what is your challenge? Could you explain to me who they are? All right, so why are you with them? Well, it's to extend and offer disruptive innovations in their OnePlus system marketplace, right? Do you have to tell me that other places changed 2 or 3 times? Maybe not. Also, Fitment. Weird word. I'm down with this. Let's try something, right? Because like this green is that guy, that blue is you. What if take an offset circle around your guy and around, we'll call this guy Dylan. So Cameron gets a circle of him, Dylan gets a circle of him, and then you color that circle, either that lime green or the blue, instead of readjusting the color values. But this is working good. That's only downside, is I see everything really well, but this gradient, or not say that, transparency doesn't hold up really good against your white pegboard background. But in terms of communication, I think this is awesome. So you tell me this information. How do you answer, so what? Do you design one for the contractors and one for the DIYers, or do you pick up opportunities in between? Which is cool, because like a Venn diagram, you can tell easily what's in between. This is brilliant. I'm glad I thought of it. I'm glad you're using it. Sip of water for me. The mixer concept. When you talk about mixer concept, do all these use a mixer concept? I would like to talk about the funneling ideas. We did over 200 ideas, and TTI pushed me toward concepts that involve mixing. The smartest and most profitable idea from this narrowed scope was to integrate a Home Depot 5-gallon bucket. So then you got to go into the market. Not bad. I make that guy a little bit bigger, occupy some more of the space. There are all kinds of different mixers that only work with one kind of medium. I kind of like to see that. I'd like to see a normal drill with a bit, and then why is yours so good? Is it that much better than a DIY mixer bit and a drill? Better be. Also, it'd help if you frame, right? So like, who is this for? Is this for both, or is it for one? If it's for both, then you got to be considering both people's requirements, because like your Cayman guys from using this, maybe that. You're a DIY person, maybe if they rent it. Just make your being consistent with like which user you're advocating for. All right, you tell me it's designed to fit a 5-gallon bucket. I kind of want a cutaway view. I want to see how these things fit into the bucket, like how they're scraping the bottom of the bucket, making sure everything's nice and homogeneous. Does it say meter or does it say meter? I bet it's a meter. Smart. Options are good. This is just me being me. But those look janky. I mean, look at the complexity of that and complexity of that. I believe those mix things up better than yours do. I'm not calling you to redo the entire thing, but I might be calling you to fix those weird kind of mixers. Unless you can argue that they perform a function that's needed, right? So if you do a cutaway view and these things sit perfectly in that lower left-hand, lower right-hand corner of the bucket, that way you're mixing all the aggregate, maybe you've bought yourself some time. So, good, just little details. Vacuum assist. Okay. So you're only focused on the garage. I feel like it would have been more necessary. I mean, I just heard Caymans, and I felt like it was necessary in his project to incorporate the OnePlus system. Because it seems like everybody does. Okay, good questions. Let's see some answers. Okay, so she wants to sweep. Dust collector. Okay, 2 good opportunities. You're sketching in those opportunities. Makes sense. Now, if I'm trying to help Mr. Robert over here, the dust collector, is that like an airborne dust collector? Because I know a guy in your class who did an airborne dust collector. We talked about these pages, about making them a bit more simple, like 1 thought per page. So yes, yes, yes. And the inclusion of, okay, so it might not be here, but you're talking about redesigning the inside of that so it gets better suction. I agree. Bin bush idea. So I agree with your argument that the gray or the white are your touch points. Is the way you can communicate on this page that this is your power. So idea is, yes, you say it's the power button, but I would like to see, like, I guess it looks like the OnePlus logo, your traditional power button, which actually is like a take a circle, cut the top half, and put a vertical line in it. So maybe that's a good place to slide in that logo. That way it's assumed with when you touch that, you get the type of activity. It's that guy. Just you're going to cut off that portion and that portion. We talk about changing that. You know what to do. Pretty. Ooh, that's nice. The deets. Talked about these. Cool. With updated icon page. We talked about this as well, if I'm remembering correctly. Yep. I don't remember what we said. I know we did this spacing thing, but is it possible to highlight a couple things? You did it in the previous page. I thought it helped me absorb what I want to quickly and then come back and read. So maybe the same thing for this. Talked about segmenting these a little bit different, whereas the challenges are one color, and you kind of tint all those one color considerations, or maybe the opportunities was the other color. So talked about that. Good. Like I don't mind reading. I guess these are 4 deep, and these are 4 and 5 deep. Just trying to understand why I don't mind reading this page, and I'm hesitant to read that page. This is where it gets good. We talk about how to make changes to this, which is Venn diagram approach. So circling all the ones that are in the certain quadrants. So refuge gets its list, and things that cover 2 are Venn diagram covered in the middle. I'd like to see that. Not sure this is necessary. Also rethink the textures. You tell me how it is, but you're not really showing a process of development. So if you start out with a bunch of textures, like 15, 16, and said, from these things, I considered these things working and these things not. The things, well, I don't even say that much. I consider all 15, and based on what I can do with fabrication and what the desires of your end user are, these are the best choices. So instead of saying, hey, here it is, create a page that explains to me why it is. Cool picture. All right, that about wraps it up. I'll post this once I get it processed.